So, to try to get Freddy back on track, Peggy, in the middle of the night, wakes Freddy up to make him promise to quit making his oil drinks and to quit being an alcoholic, basically. Freddy agrees to the promise, although, what a shock. He does not keep said promise. And just like with Freddy's character, nothing really changes. So, another thing that happens is more and more people start criticizing Lancaster Dodd's beliefs, so to speak, or at least the things that he is teaching his cult. See, he has been telling people that he has found the cure to cancer as well as a bunch of other medical miracles. He's already released one book and he's planning on releasing another book about the cause and his practices and all that stuff. But the problem is, he is not licensed to give out medical treatments. So yeah, he's kind of getting in trouble for that. And on top of that, his son from a previous marriage, apparently there's more than one previous marriage according to Peggy, is not exactly down with the cause, so to speak. Freddy is very critical to him about it, but at one point, Lancaster Dodd's son, who I think is named Val, but I don't remember, basically says, "You know he's making this all up, right? You know he doesn't actually know anything. He's just making this all up." And Freddy kind of has like a contemplative look like, huh? Is he? So eventually the word gets out that Lancaster Dodd does not have a license to practice medicine and that Freddy assaulted some policemen. So they both get arrested. And here is when Joaquin Phoenix smashes a toilet with his foot. Yeah, in his cell, Freddy Quell smashes a toilet with his foot. And that scene was rehearsed, and Joaquin Phoenix actually smashed a freaking old toilet with his foot. And this scene right here that follows the very loud arguing scene was the most intense arguing scene I have ever seen in my life. I'm not exaggerating. I actually wanted to start crying as I was watching it because I don't know why. It was just so, like, intense.
Why don't you you some more? You lazy ass piece of shit.
I'm not lazy.
I'm done. You're f***ing lazy.
No, you make shit up.
Lazy. I make shit up.
Family hates you.
Oh,
Your son hates you.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
Who
the
fucking
son
likes
hates
you except for me?
Nobody.
Except for me.
No, you don't.
Who likes you except for me? Except for me.
You shut up.
I'm the only one who likes you.
You too.
So eventually someone bails them out of jail, and I'm surprised how much has happened in this movie and yet how little has happened in this movie because, like, there's a bunch of stuff that hasn't even come up yet in the review, and already there's been so much to talk about. Wow. So they finally travel to Phoenix, Arizona, where the master is, of course, unveiling his new book. Somebody criticizes the book, and Freddy responds the way he always responds when somebody insults or criticizes his bestie. He takes them outside and beats them up. Then a member of the cause, named Helen, played by Laura Dern. I'm surprised so many celebrities are in this movie. I don't know why. Tells him, hey, there's some stuff in this book that don't make a ton of sense and contradicts other stuff we did in the past. And the master goes ballistic.
Because, of course he does. Who doesn't go ballistic in this movie?
Also, I think at some point in this movie, we had the scene in which, totally out of nowhere, at the house that they are staying at, Freddy sees every single woman in the room beyond scantily clad, so to speak. It just came out of nowhere. Why did we need that? Why the heck did we need that? We already know how Freddy is. Why did we need that? But we also saw a scene in which we find out basically that Peggy is the one who is always manipulating Lancaster Dodd. Don't ask me how it happens. I'm just lucky it was totally off screen. So after taking pictures in the desert, Freddy gets on a motorcycle and drives away and abandons Lancaster Dodd. I'm not 100% sure what brought him to this epiphany, because apparently he and Lancaster had reconciled all their differences, but whatever. And of course, he goes back to try to find Doris and finds out that unfortunately she is married. And I said earlier in the previous half of this review that there was one moment towards the end where I felt some sympathy for Freddie. It was this. You can really tell that it makes him very sad to hear this. Maybe he didn't have his hopes up. Maybe he knew something like this was gonna happen with how long apparently he was away from her. Maybe he even knew that if Doris found out about all of his girls and about the oil drinks and about him joining a cult, that maybe she wouldn't want him anymore. But he needed closure, and he wanted to know. I can't really explain it, but just in this moment I felt this kind of, well, I hate that, but honestly, you didn't exactly deserve any better than this. They say you get what you give, and Freddie hasn't exactly given much to anything but the cause, and even them, what's he really given them, right? Also, apparently I was wrong. It's not he's been out of the Navy for 7 years, it's been 7 years since they saw each other, so less time has passed than I originally thought since he saw Doris. When I was watching it, I had my facts mixed up and all that stuff, so I didn't think of it as creepy, and I had a positive outlook on this scene, but I sure hope that this one bit isn't creepy, because this is like the one part where I felt sympathy for Freddie. I'm not even done explaining why yet. So then after that's out of the way, he basically says, well, as long as she's happy, that's good. So he's disappointed in the outcome of his plan, and maybe himself too, but at the end of the day, he is happy for her, and that's very mature to see coming from Freddie, which is very different than what we've seen of him throughout the movie. So yeah, it was a good scene, and it's starting to not be good because it's starting to look creepier and creepier. Oh my gosh. So after plan A doesn't work, he decides to go back to the cause and retreat so that he can see Lancaster Dodd again and continue his exercises, because he had been doing all these exercises and had finally passed the tests and had like a few more to go in order to be fully a part of the cause. And here's the thing, the timeline of all these events really doesn't add up. They really do nothing in this movie to show the passage of time between certain events happening. Like, you guys know I already had my years mixed up on how long it's been since Freddie's been with Doris and how long he's been out of the war, so we don't actually know the number of years that he's been back from the war, or if it's been a year at all. And then it's hinted at that he was with the cause prior to this for a very long period of months, but then here's the thing. Peggy has actually been pregnant the whole movie. I don't know why there's no reason for her to be pregnant, but yeah, she has been very heavily pregnant. So surely if she hasn't given birth until after Freddie left, then he wasn't there for very long, maybe a couple of months at most, right? So yeah, just the timeline is just very, very convoluted. Not convoluted, just it's difficult to know just when certain events take place and for how long. So Peggy, of course, doesn't want Freddie back for some strange reason, and pretty much the rest of Lancaster Dodd's family, including his kids, his daughter, who, despite having recently been married, came on to Freddie, and Freddie refused because apparently he draws the line at other guys' girls. But Lancaster is kind of considering bringing Freddie back, but then Freddie and him have a meeting, and it doesn't exactly go well. So I know we're right here at the end of our story for today, but unfortunately this video also ended up being kind of long, so I'm gonna have to end it here, and we will continue in part 3. 3.